Hey everybody, this is Piyush and this is part 2 of the Survival Devlog series. In the last part, we finished almost all the basic foundations of the game like player movement, ability system, stats, upgrades, etc. But compared to the last part, this week seemed really short and I wasn't able to do as much as I expected to do. This week I decided to finish the ability selection window. This window shows up every time our player levels up and our player gets to choose new abilities and power-ups from this window. But before that, one thing was bugging my mind. The way I was upgrading my abilities. Okay, so let me explain in simpler terms, which I really didn't do in my previous devlog. So first, I made the upgrade system with the selection window in my mind. I used to make a file which contained the details of the upgrade and which ability I want to upgrade. And then I planned to assign a card to the upgrade file. This meant that for every upgrade file I will have to make a new card and assign it the upgrade data. This could really make the randomizer very complicated by increasing the selection pool size. For an instance, let us take an example. Let's say I have a total of 3 abilities in my game, with 3 upgrades each. I already have one ability in my player ability slot and there are currently 2 available abilities. Now when I level up, I get to select from 3 cards. These can either be a new ability or a new upgrade. Normally it is done by getting a random card from the selection pool. But since we have different cards for different upgrades, I will have to make sure I don't skip an upgrade. I better not give the 3rd level before giving the 2nd level upgrade, and this is where the things get really complicated. So I changed it. Instead of having each card different upgrade files, I made it so the ability now holds all the upgrades it has. Now in the selection window, a card just has to know which ability it has to upgrade. Ability just takes the upgrade from the list of upgrades and applies it on itself. So in order to test it, I made the spear upgrade the default upgrade upon level up, since I didn't have the selection window yet, and it was working as expected. Now it was time for the selection panel, which was the main objective of this week. The first thing I did was open the games I took inspiration from and tried to identify some patterns in the ability selections. There were a few important things that I discovered. First, that the main offensive abilities have more chances to appear at the start of the game. Support abilities and upgrades appear more often when a certain number of offensive abilities are chosen already. And also that some kind of bonus can also be provided after a certain number of levels are crossed. With these things understood, I started making the level up selection window. Firstly, I made a really simple ability card template and arranged 3 of them in a triangular fashion. And now, it was finally time for some programming, which I really won't bore you through, but I also do want to share how it works. So, I firstly divided the abilities in 2 types, active and passive. Active abilities being the offensive abilities and passive abilities being the support abilities, or the abilities which only affect the stats of the player or the enemy. The second thing I did was create 3 lists: the available active ability list, available passive abilities list, and all the abilities which have upgrades available. Then I assign these lists separate chances according to the situation player is in, like how we only want the offensive abilities at the start of the game. And now the randomizer gives random abilities to these cards and we get to choose our ability. Currently, the game doesn't have enough abilities to test out the selection window properly. Yes, but it did work fine with the dummy abilities I made. Anyways, this sums up the progress I made this week. I would say that the videos till now cover the main core mechanics of the game, which is pretty boring at times. But since they are finished now, we will be focusing on the more interesting part of the game development, which is creating different abilities, enemies, bosses, new features, etc. And with this, part 2 of the devlog ends. I will be seeing you guys next Sunday.